This is All Out Politics, news, debate and opinion from the heart of Westminster. And this week, the government unveiled plans for mending a housing market it describes as broken, with the promise of more affordable homes and help for people to buy and rent. What isn't entirely clear is what impact house building could have on the country's green belt. Is it safe in the government's hands? Indeed, should it be? Well, joining me are the Daily Telegraph columnist Juliet and the Director of Campaigns and Policy at the Campaign for the Protection of Rural England, Tom Fyans. Welcome to you both. Green belt, should we be protecting the green belt? It's popular.
No, it is very popular. I think part of that is because of the name. Greenbelt sounds great, but there are two problems with it. One is that we have a massive demand for housing that's not being met. And particularly in places where the greenbelt is largest, we have a shortage of land for it. So, you know, on average, house prices have gone up 45 times since the 1970s. In that time, the greenbelt has expanded massively, and we have a huge need for housing, particularly in London, where there is vast tracts of land which are not being used. And the other reason is that the greenbelt doesn't actually serve a great environmental purpose. It doesn't serve a great store for wildlife, or it doesn't even necessarily serve as a open space that people can enjoy, because often it's farmland that people can't access, or it's private golf courses or whatever else. So the greenbelt doesn't serve any particular environmental purpose, and it certainly is constricting growth in the places that we need it most.
Well, obviously, I don't agree with most of that. I mean, first off, greenbelt is it's there to protect to prevent urban sprawl, sorry. So it's a planning designation first and foremost. It's not actually an environmental designation, although there are huge environmental benefits that you get in it. The reality is the greenbelt is the countryside next door for 30 million people in this country. It's well used, it's popular, as you say. It's probably the most popular planning tool post-war that this country has got. Enjoys strong public support. It enjoys strong political support, cross-party support as well, I may say. This week you've seen John Healey from Labour agree with basically the Conservative government position on not eroding further the green belt.
Do you think it should be looked at again? Because it is not difficult to find things that aren't in any sense really contributing to the environment at all that are designated as green belt land. Well,
I think the difficulty, it's 13% of the country for a start. So if you go around all the major cities and go and find a patch of land, you're going to find something that you don't particularly like.
I mean, okay. No one's saying concrete over all the green belt, I don't think, no. Except perhaps Nick Bowles. But I mean, other than that, you know, possibly there is 2 or 3% of it that could be looked at again, particularly in key areas. I mean, here's one proposal here that it says that this is an expert on regeneration saying that liberalising 60% of the green belt that lies within 2 kilometres of a railway station could create land for 2 million homes. OK, so one of the other purposes of the green belt is to encourage regeneration, urban regeneration. That's what it's there for. Yeah, but that is urban regeneration. That's already... Well, it's not necessarily if it's in the green belt. It's there to encourage regeneration, build the houses in the places where you actually need them to be. And environmentally, it is used, it is valuable. We see a very high percentage of country parks, nature reserves. I mean, I use the green belt every weekend. Lots of families do. They go out there with their children. It's a very valuable resource. It's something we should be really proud of in this country, not try and run it down. Are you advocating building over all the green belt?
No, no one is advocating getting rid of very valuable wildlife parks or places like Windsor Great Park, you know, that have nature reserves in them or that have nature in them. But what I think we need to do as a country is to look at our whole policy on land and to say we want green spaces and we want spaces that have environmental benefits, but this green belt designation doesn't serve that purpose.
So what would you do? I mean, what proportion of green belt do you think should be looked at?
Well, I think that we should abolish the idea of the green belt, because as you said, it's not even there to serve an environmental purpose, and we should say we need a certain amount of, you know, open natural space, but we also need space for housing. So I would just look at the whole system again and get rid of this.
So on land, at the moment, there's enough land available, brownfield land, previously developed land, used land, that could build 1.1 million houses in this country. That's
in
research that we've done all around the country. 250,000 of those are in the southeast. 130,000 of them are in London itself.
250,000. That's
in the
simply
southeast.
That's 1 year.
That's a year's. Yes.
Yeah,
so what we're saying,
year.
brownfield first, as an organisation and as a country, we should be looking at brownfield first. It's what we've done historically and been quite successful. And then we look at greenfield. I mean, the other thing to mention, not just about Greenbelt. 59% of developed land that's changed from developed use has been greenfield. So 59% of development takes place on greenfield land at the moment. That's a killing statistic. If we carry on with that, where does that end? That's not greenbelt, but it is greenfield.
But I mean, that's a highly misleading statistic because it makes it sound like 59% of green space is disappearing. That's entirely untrue. It's a fraction of the green land that we have. And in fact, your organisation gave a figure on its website saying that 346 hectares of green belt have been turned into housing. That is 0.02% of the green belt. It is a tiny portion of the green space.
But what you'll also find on our website is that 360,000 houses are currently planned to build on the green to be built on the green belt.
It's a tiny portion of the green belt.
Yeah, but we're having this sort of binary discussion about whether you build on the green belt or not. All I'm saying is, if you look around the country, around local plans, 360,000 houses are being proposed. It's not. We're not kind of, die hard here. We're just saying, do we want to protect the countryside that most people use around our urban areas?
I mean, the problem that you've got is that 62% of people who live in towns, in surveys, say that they want to preserve the green belt, and everyone knows what they're worried about, which is the thin end of the wedge and bad planning, frankly, of which there, evidence everywhere of stupid planning decisions being taken. People do worry that it will be the nice, juicy bits of land that would be built on, not necessarily the rubbish, semi-derelict areas.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is perceptions are definitely a problem, and people get very worried about it, partly because of very misleading campaigns. But I think that maybe part of the way you could get around that is
there is a lot of bad planning decisions.
There are, and there are badly designed developments as well. But you could, before you do anything to the green belt, sort of additionally protect the areas that are most valuable, that actually have environmental benefits or that are parks that people use before you looked at it. But I agree, it's a huge challenge.
I mean, it seems to me that the danger of your position, however, is absolutism. That this is becoming, we're seeing these, should we build on the green belt, should we not build on the green belt debates developing. And actually, growing population, growing demand for housing, we clearly need to look at land.
Yes,
but if you just resist all of this, it's going to happen and you're just going to get rolled over.
We need to look at land that's already got existing planning permission. There's 400,000 planning permissions that haven't been acted on. There's developers. We talk, the Green one is portrayed as some kind of problem. That the state hasn't built enough houses in this country since the war. That's the main problem here. Developers are not developing quickly enough. They're not building out permissions they've already got. And then you've got speculative land developers who aren't even intending to build, who are controlling the land. Land is the issue. Greenbelt is not the issue.
I agree with actually most of that. In fact, today in a column I called for a competition inquiry into the entire housing market. But the Greenbelt is not serving any purpose and is not adding value to this debate. The two things are separate. We need land. And we need people to build quickly. But as part of that, we need to look at the green belt because it's not serving any good purpose.
But apart from the great recreational environmental value that it gives 30 million people in this country, that's the value of the green belt as well as a planning designation.
I think this argument is going to be live for a long time. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.